Hello, my name is Marissa Rush, and I'm going to be showing you my Webquest to help students learn about the USSR and communism. First, I have my introduction page, which just kind of welcomes students to the project and asking them to imagine that they are a person living in the USSR during the Cold War. I then ask them to imagine that Facebook is available during the entirety of the 1900s. I tell them that for their project they will be split into groups and their task will be to create a Facebook page for a person living in the USSR during the Cold War. They will be creating a pseudo-identity for the group and they will be posting as if they are the person living in the USSR at the time of the Cold War. I then go on to my task, which goes a little bit more in detail as far as the overview of the project. I tell students that they will be divided into groups of 4. I tell them that they will be creating a fake identity for a person living in the USSR during the Cold War, and that they will personally be responsible for covering one segment of their group's person's lives. Individually, they will need to research events from their time period, and they will need to use this research to create a minimum of 10 Facebook statuses to tell a life story. Together, each group member will compile their individual Facebook statuses into one group Facebook page that tells the complete story of the person's life. I remind them to look at how communism affects your person and how it should be filled with historical events, that they need to be creative and have fun. I give them tips for what to do next, to remind them to look at the process page, the resource page, the evaluation page, and of course to ask me questions if they are confused about anything. Then I move on to the process page, which goes step by step on what I'm asking the students to do. I tell them it looks a little scary at first, a lot of text, but that it's really not that bad if they just look at it step by step. Step 1 is that they will be divided into groups of 4 students. At this time, they will be meeting for the first time in group meeting 1. It will take place in class. This is where the group needs to decide who their pseudo-selves will be. They need to agree on if the person is a male or female. They will also need to decide on a name. They need to figure out, was the person born during the Bolshevik Revolution, or were they born later during Lenin, Stalin, World War II, at just the start of the Cold War? Did they see the collapse of the USSR? They need to figure it out and decide as a group, as long as their pseudo-person lived during the Cold War. Step 3, the group needs to choose who will fill what roles. I've provided a link to the role page right here. They need to be clear on who's doing what and fill out a group roles worksheet in class. Step 4, they need to do a lot of research. Individually, they need to look at a minimum of 1 source from each category on the resource page, which we'll go over in a minute. They have to write down their sources in MLA format on a sheet of paper titled USSR Research. Step 5, they need to use their research to tell a story of their person during their time period. So they need to pick out at least 10 major events or happenings or developments in the USSR that would be worthy of a Facebook status. They need to share these statuses in a Google Drive with all of their group members. I've provided them a tutorial on how to use Google Drive in this step, reminding them to think that if it was their life, what would they want to put in their Facebook? Step 6, they will have a group meeting 2. This will also take place in class, and all of their research must be done by this point. It will happen at the end of week 1. They need to make sure that everyone is holding up their part of the project, and then they need to make sure that their project parts come together to form a coherent story, reminding them that it can be fun, they can do different things, but that they do need to be talking about the same person. I will be checking their progress during this point. Step 7, they need to fine-tune their research and then find pictures to accompany it. They need to have at least 1 photo for each Facebook post. Step 8, they will have group meeting 3. Their group is responsible for figuring it out how to do this, but I do recommend that it's in person. It is during this meeting that everything needs to be done, and they need to create their Facebook page. I've created a tutorial for them to follow as well. Step 9, each group member must add their individual statuses and upload their photos. It has to be in chronological order. Step 10, they need to share the link to the group Facebook page on the class Facebook page. They should already be familiar with how to do this from previous lessons in class. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the roles page, which is at the bottom and over here at the top, which opens up another window where they should be able to go over what each group member is able to do. It says which age the group members are responsible for. It also goes over individual research activities and individual project activities in black that each student needs to do. All the things in black are the same for each student. In blue, however, it goes over the individual roles, including organizing, making a group folder, creating a group Facebook page, and sharing the group Facebook page. I have included a group member 5 just in case the class size necessitates it. So now I can go back to my resources page, where students can look at the resources they will need to use. I have them reminded that they need to use at least one from each category. I've provided 4 categories: information on the Cold War, on the history of the Soviet Union, on communism and Stalinism, and on life in the USSR. At the bottom of the page, I've also included the worksheets in case they missed them from class. I also have encouraged students previously to look at the evaluation page, which is the rubric. It's a pretty standard rubric for which they will receive an individual and a group grade, making sure that they have fulfilled the requirements, that it has historical content, it's not just random statuses, that it's organized in chronological order, that they have documented their sources, and that it's original. It's not just a boring timeline. I end with a conclusion, which just basically congratulates students, like, good job, you did it, and reminds them that they will need this information for not just what we learn in the class, but for what is going on around the world today. I have some pictures of Russia today and of other communist states around the world. And finally, I have my teacher page for all of us teachers who are curious why I chose this project. I go over how my experiences in high school have motivated me to create a project that goes over this. It says it's ideal for grade 10. You should spend about 2 weeks on it. Students will need computers or laptops, the basic learning objectives, the standards covered, and of course my contact info. I would like to end this broadcast by saying please email me and contact me if you have any suggestions or any feedback for me on this website. I hope you liked it.